Hello, my name is Adriana, and I just discovered the Fantasy subreddit's bingo card. So I have a very mixed relationship with Reddit. I love certain subreddits on Reddit. Like, they are very fun, and there's lots of interesting things going on. And then other times, Reddit is a cesspool of gross, misogynistic, racist, disgusting, just, I don't even know. Reddit is the worst, but also has some good things about it. So I am mostly a lurker on Reddit. Like I said, I enjoy some communities, and some communities make me lose my faith in humanity. One that I have especially mixed feelings about is r/fantasy. This is a subreddit dedicated to the fantasy reader community, and everything you've heard about fantasy readers as a whole can generally be found in this subreddit. But there are some really good people involved in the community, and I think it's getting better, and the moderators seem like they are helping to alleviate some of the more Reddit-centric issues. And I was lurking on it today and found that this subreddit actually has a yearly bingo card that they use to encourage people to step outside of their normal range of fantasy and read other things. And the bingo card is actually really good. So I was very surprised and very excited about it. So when I found it, I was like, let's go. Let's get into this. I love a challenge. I love stepping outside of my comfort zone. I love finding new authors. I love finding new genres. Let's do it. So this bingo card technically started April 1st. So some of them I have already been able to fill just with my regular reading. So I have filled in the bingo card where appropriate with my reading I've already done since April, and it goes till March 31st of 2024. So there are some things that I will need to fill in, as well as some things that I actually need some help with as far as I don't know what to read for this. So I would thoroughly appreciate any recommendations people have in the comments of how to fill in some of these squares. So I will put up the full board up here, and we will start with the squares I've already fulfilled just to get those out of the way. We will go through the squares I have plans for, and then we will go through the squares I have no idea what to read. And that's where I really need recommendations. The first square I actually have a book read for is Bottom of the TBR. And that is a book I'm actually currently reading, but I'm basically done, so I'm gonna count it as done for this video. But that is Papisho by Leonie Ross. Like I said, I'm I have that much left, so I will finish this very, very shortly. I feel like I've had this a lot longer than I actually have. I got this in a book subscription box from a indie bookstore in my area, and I just fell in love with the cover, but I just never picked it up, partly because it's very chunky and I was kind of nervous about it, but I am obsessed with this so far. It should never have been the bottom of my TBR. I should have picked it up immediately and just read through it as soon as I had it, but I'm reading it now, so I can check that off as far as bottom of my TBR is in fact getting read. The next square I have read for is Magical Realism. I had a couple books that could fill in for this, but the one I decided to do was, where is it? Here we go. Gold Diggers by Sanjena Sathian. I read this a couple months ago, and it's in one of my wrap-ups. I really, really enjoyed it. It follows a second-generation Indian family in the United States in kind of the 2000s aughts era, and there is a magical realism element as far as this potion they brew to help boost ambition. But very, very good. Very, very funny. I super, super enjoyed this. Definitely recommend for anybody looking for a witty but important, I guess, read. I also got this in the same subscription box that I got Papisho in, so I really wish Powell's would bring the indispensable box back because they've had really great picks for me. The next square I've fulfilled is young adult. I've read some other young adult, what am I trying to say here? I've read some other young adult kind of novels, but this is specifically because the subreddit is r/fantasy, it's all like fantasy, speculative fiction, sci-fi books. So for here, I put in Nimona. It's listed as young adult everywhere, and I think it does kind of fit most young adult themes. So I'm gonna stick it here because that's what most people do it. And it's a very good book. Definitely recommend. The next square I've fulfilled is Angels and Demons. This is focusing on any book that has angels and or demons in it. And Small Miracles is a book that is fully about angels and I guess demons and their ability to influence real life and what their job is. And it is extremely good. Yet again, definitely recommend this. The next square I have fulfilled is, 5 short stories. In here I am picking a short story anthology from one author, but I think this square can also be fulfilled by like any short story collection. This one just happens to be from one specific author, and that is The First Prehistorical Serial Killer. I read this for the Wonderathon readathon that At Lizzie's Literary Life put on a couple months ago now, but it does have 5 short stories that are specifically speculative fiction, and then it has a couple other short stories that are not as speculative fiction. They're kind of more crime-y, thriller-y, I don't know. But there's definitely at least 5 that are truly speculative fiction, so I'm counting it here. The next square is horror. I did not think I was going to be able to fulfill this square. Then I remembered I read A Dowry of Blood for the Shelf This Book Club, so I'm slotting that in here. Do I recommend this book? If you are a horror fan, gothic horror fan, yes I am. If you typically like the books I like, I don't know if you would necessarily be obsessed with this, but I'm not a big horror person, which is why I did not think I was going to be able to fulfill this square, but I already have, which is a huge relief off of my chest. The next square is self-published or indie publisher, and in here I put in The Epic of Halinthia. I have reviewed this in a full vlog, you can get my thoughts there. I don't really want to keep airing out dirty laundry about this book. Would I recommend it? Not necessarily. Read it, read the description, see if it interests you, but was not necessarily my favorite, but it fits in here. So we're calling it a day. The Center Square was published in 2023. I had tons of books that I could have put in here. I decided to go with Godkiller because I had it and it didn't really seem to fit anything else in the bingo. So here we go. Godkiller is my fit for that square. The next square is multiverses. I decided to go with The Becoming by Nora Roberts. This is a multiverse story, so that seemed like an easy slot in. I also very much appreciate this trilogy and these books. I like them a lot, so there we go. The next square is POC author. This was another one I could have put in a couple different books, but I decided to go with A Song of Silver, Flame Like Night because, again, I had it. I promise this is the book. It just has the wrong dust jacket on it because I had it and it fit the theme and seemed good. The next one that I could easily fulfill is Myths and Retelling. As someone who primarily seems to be known for Greek mythology, I had my pick of the litter as far as Greek mythology retellings goes. I decided to go with Atalanta because it is a true fantasy Greek mythology retelling. Also, you can't like reuse authors, so I know Jennifer Saint isn't coming out with a new book next year, so I want to make sure I wasn't going to step on my own toes as far as submitting this for that square. That was definitely a freebie square for me personally. The final square I knew I could fulfill was a queer norm setting. The way they described this was just any universe where queerness was normal and not really an issue. And that I picked Winter's Orbit. There's literally an arranged marriage between two men set up by the Emperor. Seems like queerness is not an issue at all in this world, so that fit very well. So next up, I will talk about the squares I have plans for, or like physical books I own that I could like slot into this. So that is actually the first square, title with a title. This was just described as, you know, any book with a job title, military title, royal title, whatever. The first one I could think of that I already owned was The Red Scholar's Wake. Scholar being a title, job title, The Scholar's Wake. So it's one I've been wanting to read. Sci-fi, fun looking, very pretty. So seemed like a good choice. The next one is Mundane Jobs. This one I decided to go with Mrs. Covington's. So Mundane Jobs is just in relation to just the main character has a normal ass job. Just like a regular job. And I believe the main character of this just like owns a bar. Which like, is any job like mundane? I don't know. But like this seems like it's a regular job. They're looking for somebody who's like, whose job like is some job you could have like as a normal person here on Earth, rather than like a mage or a soldier or like a whatever else. I don't know. They own a bar. That's a regular job. The next one I have a plan for is published in the 2000s. This is specifically like 2000 to 2009, like the aughts. The one book I own that was published in that era and fits like speculative fiction is Ball Lightning by Zixin Liu. It was originally published in China in 2004, I believe, and then was translated in 2018. But I'm gonna say it was published in 2004, so we're good. The next square I have a plan for is a Middle Eastern setting. This doesn't necessarily have to be like set in Earth's Middle East, but just like Middle Eastern analogous, because, you know, it is expected that you read fantasy or sci-fi or whatever. And for that, I have the Jasad Air. I don't know anything about this besides it is a Middle Eastern inspired setting, and I got it from Illumicrate. I haven't even taken it out of the wrapping. It still has the plastic wrap on it. So it'll be good for me to actually read this. The next square is a book from a book club or read along, and surprisingly enough, since August, none of my book club reads have been fantasy or speculative fiction. That seems wild to me, but like, whatever. The book I will definitely be able to like slot in here is coming up for the Silly Goose Book Club from Noelle 7 Pages. It is family lore. It's kind of a magical realism. Somebody in the family has a power to know when like somebody's gonna die and like what date they are going to die on. So that definitely feels like more magical realism, speculative. I think we're good. I'll be covered with this book. The next square I have a plan for is a novella. This is actually a novella I bought a while ago. I think I actually have this as a part of a book haul. I will link the video somewhere. But that is The Deep by River Solomon. It is very short. It's kind of a mermaid something, but I definitely want to read it. So I am excited that this is gonna kind of push me to read this before next March. The next one I have a plan for is coastal setting. So this is either something that's like on the coast or more preferably like on a ship. Definitely easy for me to get is The Adventure of Amina al-Sarafi. I am very excited to read this book. It is a beautiful cover. It seems very interesting, very fun. Pirate fantasy, let's go. The next one I had a plan for actually messed up one of my other plans I was originally gonna do. So originally for like Mundane Job, I was thinking House on the Cerulean Sea because I know the main character in that book is just like a social worker. But for this one features robots. The only book I could think of that I actually owned featuring robots or androids or whatever you want to call them is In the Lives of Puppets by TJ Klune. And I guess I didn't mention this rule, but like in this bingo card, they don't allow you to repeat authors because, like I said, they want you to branch out to other forms of fantasy. So if I had used House in the Cerulean Sea, I would not have been allowed to use The Lives of Puppets, but I have this one and I want to use it because I don't have anything else that features robots or androids or whatever else. And I know this one does feature androids, so I want to use it. And then finally, the last square I have a plan for is sequel. I would like to read Bookshops and Bone Dust, the sequel to... Why am I struggling right now? Legends and Lattes. So I know this comes out in like November. I will easily be able to get a hold of it and read it before this bingo card is done with. That is the plan for that one. If you are paying attention, you know there are 3 I have no plan for, and I really would like some help with. Hey, so it's been like, I don't know, a week or 2, maybe more, since I recorded the first part of this video. And since then, I have made some realizations about my bingo board / found some recommendations. So I'm just gonna refilm this last part. So one of them I had a huge realization on is Elemental Magic. Like, I already have something I want to read for that, and that I'm just gonna say it. King of Scars. So duh, Grishaverse, Elemental Magic, that's like the whole thing about the Grishaverse is the whole elemental magic system. That was a goof on my part of not remembering that this book existed. I also picked this for my Spookoplathon / Becca's Bookoplathon TBR that I posted not that long ago, so I will be reading this in October, so this will definitely fit into Elemental Magic. I'm reading it soon. It just makes sense to slot that in there. So the last 2 that are still blank, I have some ideas for, but I am very much welcoming and open to recommendations. So the first one, Superheroes, I saw a recommendation on the subreddit for the Refrigerator Monologues by Catherine M. Valente, and I read Comfort Me with Apples by this author and really enjoyed it. And the Refrigerator Monologues sounded very like interesting and kind of a cool play with the superhero genre. So I am definitely interested in picking that up. I haven't checked to see if it's available at my library or anything yet, so we'll see. That's a potential on the table. Open to other superhero-y books, but this one I have an interest in. And then the last one, Druids. The mods are being very helpful, I guess you could say, with this one by just kind of making it a little more general and not having it have to be specifically druids within the naming convention of the book, but just kind of any sort of nature-based magic user. So one I could potentially put in here is I'm currently reading Legendborn, and there is an element of nature-related magic user. I don't love it. I feel like it's stretching a little too much, but if I can't find anything better or get any better recommendations of like druidy things, I'm probably just going to use Legendborn in there. So that is the full board. I have at least a plan for the full board. We'll see if I can accomplish this plan. Let me know if you have any better recommendations for any of the squares I haven't actually filled in yet. Just because I own the book doesn't mean I necessarily have to read it for this bingo. If you have something that is just fits the square better or is just an impeccable read, let me know. But that is all I have for this Reddit bingo board. Like I said, I have till end of March. So how many do I have to read? How many of these do I still have to fill in? I have to fill in 11 of these in the next six-ish months, 5 months. And a couple of these
I want to read by the end of the year / I've picked for Spookoplathon in October. So I think I should be in pretty good shape to actually like get all these completed if I stick to some of my already created TBRs. So let me know if you're interested in participating in this, and if you've read any of the books / have any good recommendations for me. And thanks so much for watching, and I will catch you on the next video.